The rain fell hard on the metal streets of Neo-Terra City. Neon lights painted everything red and blue, reflecting off the puddles like a broken rainbow. Inside a dark alley, a tall man in a black coat walked quickly, keeping his face down. His name was Ethan Cross, a human mechanic who fixed machines for soldiers and smugglers. He wasn't rich. He wasn't powerful. But that night something pulled him toward the underground market, a place where people bought strange things. Robots, alien pets, and sometimes things that shouldn't be sold. Ethan didn't know why he was there. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was loneliness. The market was full of noise and smoke. Merchants shouted prices. Strange creatures cried from cages. But in the center of it all, there was one thing that made Ethan stop. A glass cage. Inside it, a young alien girl with silver skin and glowing blue eyes. She was sitting quietly, her knees close to her chest, breathing slowly like she had given up long ago. Her wrists had small metal rings and not heavy chains, but control bands. The sign above her cage said, "For rent, experimental companion model. 1 night, 200 credits." Ethan's stomach twisted. She wasn't a robot. She was alive. The merchant noticed his stare and smiled. "Beautiful, isn't she? Fresh from the outer colonies. Don't worry, she's legal." Ethan looked at the girl again. Her eyes lifted and just a little, and for 1 second she looked right at him. That look wasn't mechanical. It was pain. Real pain. "I'll take her," he said before he even understood why. That night he brought her to his small apartment at the edge of the city. She stood silently by the door, still wearing the silver bands. "You can sit," he said softly. She didn't move. He sighed, took off his coat, and placed a cup of warm tea on the table. "I'm not going to hurt you." Slowly, she stepped closer. Her voice was quiet, almost broken. "My name is Lyra." Ethan froze. He didn't expect her to speak. "I'm Ethan," he said. "You can rest here tonight." "That's all." Lyra looked confused. "You don't want me to serve you?" Ethan frowned. "No, I just wanted to make sure you're safe." She blinked like she didn't understand what safe meant. Then she touched the teacup, feeling the warmth. A small tear rolled down her cheek. For a moment, Ethan wanted to ask what had happened to her, why she was sold like this, but he couldn't. Her eyes said enough. That night, she slept on the couch and Ethan sat awake, staring at the city lights outside his window. He knew something was wrong with what he saw at the market. Something dark. And even though he told himself he would return her in the morning, his heart already knew he wouldn't. Morning came. The city woke with sirens and drones flying above. Lyra stood by the window, watching the sunrise like she hadn't seen it in years. Ethan spoke carefully. "I'll take you back today. But do you want to go?" Her eyes widened. "If I go back, they'll erase me." He felt his chest tighten. "Erase you?" She nodded slowly. "They call us companions. But when we're not rented enough times, they delete our memories. Start over." Ethan stared at her, the anger growing in his throat. Erase her? Like she was a broken toy? He clenched his fists. He didn't know what to say. And in that silence, Lyra whispered, "Please, don't let them take me back." Ethan looked at her. This fragile, frightened alien girl who had been treated like property. And he made a choice that would change both their lives forever. "Then I won't," he said. "You're staying with me." But far above the city, in the orbiting stations of the Galactic Authority, someone had already noticed that Unit 47 Lyra had not been returned on schedule, and they were sending hunters to retrieve her. The morning light faded fast in Neo-Terra City. Above the clouds, giant ships moved across the sky like shadows of monsters. Inside Ethan's small apartment, silence filled the air. Lyra sat near the window, her silver skin glowing softly in the weak sun. She looked peaceful, but her eyes told another story. Fear mixed with something deeper. Hope. Ethan placed a small device on the table. It was a tracker jammer, old and unreliable. He had used it before to hide smuggled tech from police drones. Now it was her only protection. "I'm not sure this will work," he said quietly. Lyra tilted her head. "You're helping me." "Even when it's dangerous for you." Ethan shrugged, pretending not to care. "I've done worse." But deep inside he knew this was different. Helping her meant going against galactic law. And no one broke that law and lived peacefully again. That afternoon, Ethan went to the marketplace again. He wore a hood and kept his head down. The same merchant who sold Lyra was standing there counting credits with a smile. Ethan walked up, calm but angry. The girl, the one from last night. What happens to them when people return them? The merchant raised an eyebrow. Why do you care? You had your night, didn't you? Ethan's jaw tightened. Answer me, the man laughed. They get wiped. Their memories, emotions, everything. We recycle them for the next customer. Easier that way. They don't cry so much. Ethan's hands shook. He wanted to punch him, but he couldn't. He turned and walked away before his rage exploded. But he didn't notice the small drone that followed him from the roof, recording everything. Back home, Lyra was sitting on the floor, drawing strange patterns with her finger on the metal tiles. When Ethan entered, she looked up and smiled weakly. You came back, she said softly. I said I would, he replied. He placed a small packet of food on the table. Eat this. It's human food, but safe. Lyra nodded, taking a small bite. She looked curious, like a child tasting something for the first time. It's warm, she whispered. We never had warm food, Ethan frowned. Where were you before they took you? Her eyes turned distant. My planet was blue and green like your Earth. We lived near water. But when the humans came, they said we were too emotional. They took our children first. I was only 9 when they put me in the labs. Ethan froze. Labs? She nodded slowly. They said they were making us better, making us perfect. But they took away our memories, our names, until we became what they wanted. Her voice cracked. I used to sing. I can't remember the song anymore. Ethan's chest tightened. He wanted to tell her it would be okay, but how could it? Humanity, his own kind, had done this to her. That night, he made a decision. He would buy her freedom, officially from the system. But that meant going to the Central Authority office where every movement was watched. He packed a small bag with credits, fake IDs, and a stolen access key. Lyra watched him quietly. Are you leaving me? She asked. He looked back at her. No, I'm going to set you free. For the first time, she smiled. A real, bright smile. Ethan. Thank you, he didn't reply. He just nodded and left into the dark streets. The city was alive at night. Hoverbikes raced through neon fog and security drones scanned every corner. Ethan kept his head low, walking fast. But halfway across the bridge, a blue light flashed in the sky. A deep robotic voice echoed from above. Unauthorized possession of sentient property detected. Citizen Ethan cross and surrender immediately. Ethan's heart pounded. They had found him. He ran. Blaster shots lit the air around him as he dived behind a truck. Sparks flew. A drone swooped down, scanning. He fired his EMP gun. A pulse of blue light hit the drone and it dropped, smoking. He didn't stop. He ran through alleys, jumped over fences until his lungs burned. He had to warn Lyra. When he finally reached his apartment, he stopped cold. The door was open, he ran inside. The room was a mess. The jammer lay broken on the floor. But Lyra was gone. Only one thing remained on the table. A small silver bracelet glowing faintly, with her name etched on it. Lyra, Unit 47. Ethan's hands trembled as he picked it up. He could still feel her warmth on it, and then from the broken window a soft echo drifted through the night, the sound of a ship taking off. She was being taken away. Ethan's eyes hardened. No, he whispered. You're not taking her again. He loaded his weapon, grabbed his coat, and looked at the city lights outside. For the first time in his life, Ethan Cross wasn't running from the world. He was going to war with it. Ethan stood at the window, watching the ship disappear into the storm clouds. The sound of its engines echoed in his ears long after it was gone. His heart felt empty, but his anger burned like fire. They had taken her again. He grabbed his old data tablet and pulled up a city tracker map. Every ship leaving Neo-Terra had a registration code, unless it was military. The signal from the ship that took Lyra wasn't commercial. It came from the Galactic Enforcement Division, the GED, he muttered under his breath. They really are erasing her. Outside, rain poured down as he rushed to the old hangar near the edge of the city. Inside sat his ship, small, fast, and illegal. The Hawk 7 had no ID, no beacon, and no permission to fly. Perfect for someone who wanted to vanish. Ethan worked quickly. He loaded power cells, checked the fuel, and armed the stealth drive. His hands moved fast, but his mind was somewhere else, with Lyra. He could still see her smile that morning. It was soft, unsure, like she had never been allowed to feel joy before. He had promised to protect her, and now he would keep that promise. He took off into the night. The stars stretched out like silver dust as the Hawk 7 left the planet's surface. Ethan activated the tracker jammer and followed the GED signal. It was heading toward Station Kronos, a floating research facility orbiting the moon of Epsilon 4. Everyone in the outer colonies knew the rumors. Kronos wasn't just a lab, and it was a factory for living weapons. And if Lyra had been taken there, she wasn't just some alien girl. She was something much more dangerous. Hours later, the station appeared in the distance, a massive structure shaped like a black ring glowing faintly in the darkness. Ships entered through its central bay, guarded by drones that circled like sharks. Ethan slowed his ship, keeping to the shadows. He turned off all external lights and activated silent mode. The Hawk 7 drifted quietly toward the maintenance sector. When he got close enough, he slipped out wearing his old engineer suit, carrying a portable plasma cutter. He cut through the side hatch and crawled inside. The air inside was cold, sterile, and silent. The walls were lined with silver tubes, each one glowing faintly blue. He peeked inside one and froze. Each tube held a body, not human, not machine, something in between. They all looked like Lyra. His breath caught. Hundreds of them floated in suspension, eyes closed, faces calm, waiting. Above the tubes, a glowing sign read, Project Seraphim Unit 47 Series. He felt sick. They weren't companions. They were creations. Experiments made to feel, love, and obey. And Lyra, she was one of them. But why had she been different? Why had she remembered her past? Ethan opened a control panel and hacked into the terminal. The screen flashed with warnings, then showed a list of files. He opened one marked Lyra 47 Memory Anomaly. A hologram appeared. A scientist's voice spoke calmly. Subject 47 exhibits emotional independence and self-awareness. She refuses behavioral resets. Recommended full memory wipe. Ethan's jaw tightened. You monsters. Then he saw something that made his blood freeze. The next line said, Memory wipe scheduled, 0100 hours station time. He checked his wrist clock. It was 12:37, 23 minutes until they erased her. Ethan ran down the corridor, his boots echoing on the metal floor. Alarms began to hum softly. The system had detected his hack. Red lights flickered. He turned a corner and nearly collided with two guards. They shouted, raising their weapons. Ethan fired first. A flash of blue light hit one, knocking him back. The second ran for cover. Ethan ducked behind a crate, threw a flash grenade, and charged through the smoke. His old soldier instincts came alive. He didn't think. He just moved. He reached the lab doors marked Memory Control Room. Locked. He ripped open the side panel and hotwired it. Sparks flew, and the door slid open with a hiss. Inside, the room glowed with cold light. Machines hummed softly, and in the center stood a clear capsule. Inside it was Lyra. Her eyes were closed. Electrodes covered her temples. The system screen beside her flashed, Memory deletion, 92%. Ethan's heart stopped. He ran to the console and slammed the emergency button. Nothing. The process kept running. He yelled, Lyra! Wake up, please! No response. He ripped the cables out one by one, ignoring the electric shocks that burned his hands. Sparks flew, smoke rose, but the machine stopped. The words froze at 93%. Lyra gasped. Her eyes shot open, glowing bright blue. Ethan, she whispered weakly. He smiled, breathing hard. I told you I'd come back. But before he could help her up, a deep alarm shook the entire station. A mechanical voice boomed over the speakers. Unauthorized intrusion detected. Sector lockdown in progress. Heavy footsteps echoed behind him. Ethan turned slowly and saw a tall figure in a black uniform with silver eyes. The man smiled. You shouldn't have come here, human. Ethan aimed his gun. Then you don't know me. The figure raised his hand, and a burst of blue energy hit the wall beside Ethan, sending him crashing backward. Lyra screamed his name. As the world blurred around him, Ethan saw the man's glowing badge. It read, Commander Xerax, Project Seraphim Director, and before he blacked out, he heard Lyra cry, Don't hurt him, please. Ethan woke to the sound of heavy machines humming. His head throbbed, his wrists hurt. And when he tried to move, he realized he was chained to a metal chair. The air smelled like chemicals and electricity. A cold blue light blinked above him. Across the room stood Commander Xerax, tall and calm, his silver eyes glowing faintly. Behind the commander, through a glass wall, Ethan could see Lyra, locked in another capsule again. She was awake this time, but motionless, her eyes fixed on him with fear. Ethan struggled against the chains. "Let her go," Xerax smiled slightly. "You humans always say that. Let her go. You have no idea what she is." Ethan glared. "She's not a thing. She's alive." The commander tilted his head, almost amused. "Alive? Interesting word. Do you know what Project Seraphim really means, Mr. Cross?" Ethan said nothing. Xerax pressed a button. A hologram appeared showing a younger Lyra in a laboratory, surrounded by scientists. Tubes connected to her back. She looked scared. Xerax spoke softly. "Your Earth's leaders made her. A hybrid between human and alien DNA, designed to connect both species through emotion, to end wars by creating empathy. But humans grew impatient. They wanted control, not peace." Ethan's eyes widened. "So they turned her into a weapon." "Exactly." Xerax stepped closer. "Lyra carries something unique, a neural core that links to every Seraphim unit. That's why we can't destroy her. She is the first and the last of her kind." Ethan's heart raced. "Then why erase her?" Xerax looked through the glass. "Because she remembers too much." "Because she loved." Ethan's voice cracked. "She loved?" Xerax turned back to him, expression unreadable. "When one of our scientists showed her kindness, she formed an emotional bond. The experiment failed. She began questioning orders, refusing to obey. Love was her flaw," Ethan whispered. "That's not a flaw. That's what makes her alive." The commander stared at him, then sighed. Humans and their emotions. Always believing love can fix the universe, he pressed another button. The chains around Ethan's wrist tightened painfully. "You stole government property, attacked a galactic facility, and interfered with classified research. You'll be executed." Ethan clenched his teeth. "You can kill me, but you'll never control her again." Through the glass, Lyra's eyes glowed brighter. She whispered something. Ethan couldn't hear it, but her lips moved slowly. Xerax noticed and frowned. "Deactivate her neural output!" But before the guard could move, the lights flickered. A deep vibration filled the room. Alarms blared. The glass wall behind Xerax cracked. Ethan shouted, "What's happening?" Xerax looked at the control panel. His eyes widened. "She's syncing with the core." The walls trembled. Sparks shot from the ceiling. The holograms went wild, showing streams of data moving faster and faster. Through the chaos, Lyra rose from her capsule. The energy around her shimmered like light and smoke. Her voice echoed, soft but powerful. "I remember everything now." Xerax took a step back. "Stop this. You'll destroy the network." Her glowing eyes locked on him. "You destroyed me first." Ethan pulled hard against the chains. They snapped. He ran to her, covering his face from the blinding light. Lyra looked at him, trembling. "Ethan, I don't know how to stop it." He reached her and held her hands. "Then don't stop it. Control it." Her breathing quickened. "I can feel all of them. The others like me. They're still alive, sleeping in the tanks." "Then wake them," Ethan said. "Free them." Xerax shouted. "If she connects the full network, it'll crash the defense grid. The whole station will fall." Ethan glared at him. "Good." Lyra closed her eyes. A wave of blue light spread through the walls like lightning. Every capsule in the lab began to open one by one. Figures stepped out, dozens of girls like her, all blinking, alive again. The machine screamed under the pressure. The room filled with energy so bright it turned everything white. Then silence. When Ethan opened his eyes, the lab was destroyed. Smoke drifted through broken metal and glass. The other Seraphim girls were gone, vanished. Only Lyra stood before him, weak but alive, glowing faintly. He held her as she stumbled. "You did it." She smiled tiredly. "I freed them. They're safe now, somewhere they can't be found." Behind them, Xerax lay against the wall, his armor cracked. He coughed and said weakly, "You think you've won, human? She's unstable. That core inside her will consume her soon." Ethan turned to him. "Then I'll find a way to save her." Xerax laughed faintly. You can't save what was never meant to live. Ethan's eyes hardened. Watch me. He picked up Lyra in his arms. The ceiling above them collapsed halfway, but a small escape hatch blinked red in the corner. He carried her through the smoke, every step heavy but sure. As they reached his ship docked nearby, she whispered, "They'll follow us." He smiled softly. "Then they'll have to catch us first." The Hawk 7 roared to life, engines glowing blue. The ship blasted out of the broken station, leaving the burning ruins of Kronos behind. As the stars stretched before them, Lyra leaned against him, her voice faint. "Ethan, thank you for believing in me." He looked out at the stars, holding her close. "We're not done yet, Lyra, we just started." But deep inside her, the glowing core pulsed faster, and something ancient, something powerful, was awakening. The stars stretched like silver threads across the black sky as the Hawk 7 drifted through space. The ship was quiet. Only the soft hum of the engines filled the air. Ethan sat in the pilot's seat, staring at the navigation screen. His eyes were heavy, his thoughts heavier. Behind him in the small cabin, Lyra slept on a medical cot. Her skin glowed faintly blue, brighter than before. He had seen wounds heal, burns close. Even machines repaired themselves in battlefields. But he had never seen something like this. Her body wasn't just healing, and it was changing. Her heartbeat echoed like a rhythm of electricity. Every few minutes, a wave of light moved under her skin. Ethan whispered to himself, "What are you becoming, Lyra?" Hours later, Lyra opened her eyes. She looked pale but calm. "We're still flying," he nodded. "We're out of GED range. For now." She sat up slowly, touching her arms. "I feel different." Ethan turned to her. "Different how?" She hesitated. "I can hear things. Not with ears, inside my mind. Voices, signals. It's like the universe is whispering." He frowned. "Could it be the neural core?" She shook her head. "No, it's something deeper. It feels alive." Ethan walked closer. "Does it hurt?" "No," she said softly. "It feels like I'm waking up." Her eyes flickered bright blue again, and the ship's lights dimmed for a moment, as if her energy was feeding into the circuits. Ethan stepped back. "You're sinking with the ship." Lyra's voice trembled. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to." He quickly grabbed a cable and disconnected the neural link to the ship's main core. The lights returned to normal. "Don't be sorry. We just need to control it." She looked down. "Control. That's what they wanted too." He sighed and knelt beside her. "Yeah, but they wanted to control you. I want you to learn it. For yourself." For the first time, she smiled faintly. "You speak like someone who still believes in hope." Ethan shrugged. "Maybe I do." A few hours later, the navigation alarm beeped. A blinking red light appeared on the screen. Ethan's eyes narrowed. "Incoming transmission encrypted." He pressed a button. The screen flickered to life, showing an old woman with white hair and sharp eyes. "Ethan Cross," she said. "You really did it. You freed her." Ethan frowned. "Who are you?" "My name is Dr. Vera Lorne. I was part of Project Seraphim before it was corrupted." Lyra's eyes widened. You were in the labs?" Vera nodded. "Yes, child. I helped create you. I tried to protect you when they ordered the first wipe, but I failed." Ethan's voice turned hard. "Where were you when they turned her into a slave?" Vera's face softened. "Hiding. Waiting for someone like you. I couldn't fight the system alone." Ethan crossed his arms. "Then why contact us now?" "Because," Vera said, "if Lyra's neural core keeps expanding, it will reach critical overload. She'll lose control. And when that happens, every Seraphim still connected to the network will die." Lyra gasped. "Die? But I freed them." Vera shook her head. "You freed their bodies, not their minds. The core still links them to you. You must learn to control it, or the network will collapse." Ethan clenched his jaw. "Tell us what to do." "There's a hidden base on Ares 9, an old mining moon," Vera said. "I left something there, the original design files for your core. If we retrieve them, we might stabilize you." Ethan nodded. "Send the coordinates." But before Vera could answer, static filled the screen. Her voice broke up. "They found me. Run. Trust no one." The transmission cut off. Ethan cursed and hit the console. "Damn it." Lyra looked at him, fear in her eyes. "They're coming again, aren't they?" He met her gaze. They never stopped. The Hawk 7 jumped into hyperspeed, slicing through a corridor of blue light. Ethan set course for Ares 9, but something in his gut felt wrong. Too easy, too quiet. Lyra sat beside him, staring out at the stars. "Ethan, do you ever think the universe hates us?" He smiled weakly. "No, I think it tests the ones who matter most." She looked at him, her voice gentle. "You really believe that?" "I believe in you," he said softly. The words hit her heart like warmth in a cold void. For a moment she forgot the pain, the fear, everything. She just looked at him, her eyes glowing softly. But then the ship jolted violently. The alarm screamed. Ethan grabbed the controls. "What the hell?" A massive shadow appeared ahead, a fleet of GED warships blocking their path. Lyra gasped. They knew where we were going. Ethan's hands tightened on the controls. Vera's signal. They traced it. Outside, the lead warship's lights flashed. A cold voice echoed through the comms. "Pilot Ethan Cross, hand over Subject 47. This is your only warning." Lyra's glow brightened, and the ship's panels began to hum. Ethan turned to her. "Lyra, don't..." She looked straight ahead, her voice calm but powerful. "They want a weapon. I'll give them one." A wave of blue energy burst from her body, spreading across the ship like lightning. The nearest warship exploded instantly, torn apart by invisible force. Ethan shielded his face, shouting, "Lyra, stop, you'll kill yourself!" But she didn't hear him. Her eyes burned brighter than ever, and for the first time Ethan saw something new in them. Not fear. Not pain, but wrath. The universe burned blue. Every ship around the Hawk 7 shattered like glass in a storm. Pieces of metal and flame spun into the void while Lyra floated in midair, her body glowing like a living star. Ethan's hands shook on the flight controls. "Lyra, you have to stop!" he shouted. Her eyes were pure light now. No pupils, no fear, no softness. Only power. The kind of power that could melt worlds. For a second, everything went quiet. Then a blinding wave of energy rippled outward again. It tore through space like thunder. Ethan covered his eyes as alarms screamed. The Hawk 7 spun out of control. He hit emergency thrusters and forced the ship down toward the nearest moon, Ares 9, their destination. Flames licked the hull as they entered its thin atmosphere. Come on," he muttered, wrestling with the controls. Finally, the ship crashed into the rocky surface, sliding across red dust until it stopped against a cliff. Smoke rose from the engines. Sparks danced across the panels. Ethan unbuckled himself and turned. "Lyra!" She was lying on the floor, unconscious. Her skin still glowed faintly, small bolts of energy crawling under it like veins of lightning. He knelt beside her, shaking her shoulder gently. "Hey, you're okay, breathe." She gasped suddenly, her chest rising, her eyes opening wide. But her voice wasn't the same. It was layered, two tones speaking at once. "Where am I?" Ethan froze. "Lyra!" She blinked slowly, confused. "I hear so many voices," he frowned. "Voices?" "They're screaming," she whispered. "All the others. The ones I freed. They're still connected to me, and they're in pain." Ethan's stomach dropped. "Your power. When you fought the fleet, you pulled them back into the link." Tears rolled down her cheeks, glowing like liquid light. "I didn't mean to hurt them." He held her hand gently. "You didn't. We'll fix it. We'll find Dr. Vera's base." The crash site was silent except for the wind. Red dust blew across the dead valley of Ares 9. Ethan climbed out of the ship, scanning the horizon. In the distance, half buried under the rock, stood an old research dome. Dark, cracked, but still intact. He returned inside. "There's something out there." "We're going." Lyra tried to stand, weak but determined. "I can walk." They moved slowly across the rocky plain. Each step echoed under the stars. The ground was covered in strange symbols, faded carvings in alien shapes. Who built this place? Ethan murmured. Lyra touched one of the symbols. It glowed softly under her hand. "These aren't human marks. My people..." They use this language. Ethan's eyes widened. "Your people? You mean before the labs?" She nodded. "This was a memory I thought I'd lost. My planet had temples like this. They believed the soul could travel through light." As they reached the dome, the metal door hissed open by itself. A faint blue light glowed inside. The interior looked untouched. Dusty consoles, flickering monitors, and holographic screens showing old data. A glowing figure appeared on one of them. Dr. Vera again, a pre-recorded message. If you're seeing this, then I am gone. Lyra, my child, inside you lies the first pure link between mind and matter. You were never a weapon. You were meant to heal the rift between species. But the human command turned that dream into a tool of war. The neural core cannot be destroyed, but it can be reset, to free you and the others. The key is here, under the chamber. The message ended. Lyra knelt, her hands shaking. She called me her child. Ethan placed a hand on her shoulder. Then she believed in you. They searched the chamber. Under a cracked panel, Ethan found a small crystal sphere pulsing faintly. Lines of light spiraled within it. Is this it? He asked. Lyra nodded slowly. The heart key. It connects directly to my core. As she reached for it, her body flickered again. Her face twisted in pain. Lyra. Ethan grabbed her arm. What's happening? Her voice broke. The others. They're calling me again. I can't hold them back. The room's walls began to vibrate. Monitors exploded. The entire dome trembled. From the shadows, a metallic figure stepped forward. A tall humanoid machine with glowing red eyes. Xerax's voice came from its speaker. You really thought you escaped me? Ethan's eyes widened. You how? Xerax laughed coldly. I transferred my mind before the station fell. You destroyed my body, human, but not my purpose. And now I'll reclaim what's mine. He raised his arm and a blast of red energy shot toward them. Ethan pushed Lyra aside and fired back with his plasma pistol. Sparks flew. Lyra screamed. Her glow erupted again, forming a barrier that shattered the blast. Leave us alone, Xerax sneered. You can't fight your own design, girl. You are the weapon, Ethan shouted. She's more than that. He ran forward, slamming a power cell into the machine's chest. Sparks burst. Xerax staggered. But before Ethan could strike again, the android grabbed him by the throat and lifted him into the air. Lyra's eyes filled with light. Let him go! The air itself bent around her. Blue fire wrapped the entire room. Xerax screamed as his circuits melted. Ethan fell to the ground, coughing. The android's metal body collapsed into dust. Lyra stood trembling, the glow fading. I can't control it much longer. He caught her before she fell. You don't have to. We'll finish this together. She looked up at him, her voice weak but steady. Ethan, if I fail, you must destroy the core. He shook his head. I'll destroy the galaxy first. Outside, the horizon burned as the dome's systems powered up. The heart key floated above them, humming softly. Ethan stared at it, knowing the next step would decide everything. Lyra took his hand. Her eyes glowed like twin stars. It's time to end what they started. And far away in the void between worlds, 1,000 sleeping seraphim opened their eyes. The heart key floated in midair, spinning slowly, its blue light filling the dark dome. The air felt alive, vibrating with power. Ethan and Lyra stood hand in hand, their faces glowing in its soft shimmer. Lyra's voice trembled. It's calling to me. Ethan looked at her, fear and love mixing inside him. Are you sure you can control it? She smiled faintly. No, but I have to try. The ground rumbled beneath their feet. Outside, the red desert of Ares 9 began to split apart, lightning crackling across the sky. Above the clouds, a massive ship appeared, the GED command vessel bristling with cannons and drones. Ethan's heart sank. They found us. Lyra turned toward the door. They'll keep hunting us until I end this. I can't run anymore. He gripped her shoulders. Then I'm not letting you do it alone. She looked into his eyes, and for a moment the whole universe disappeared. There was only them. The dome's walls split open, exposing the night sky. Wind howled inside as drones descended like a storm of metal insects. Ethan raised his weapon and fired, blue bolts flashing across the darkness. Lyra stood beside him, her body glowing brighter with each shot. When a missile streaked toward them, she raised her hand. The explosion froze in midair, then reversed, sucking itself back into silence. Ethan stared, speechless. You stopped time? Lyra's voice was soft. Just for a moment. But every time I use this power, it takes a part of me. He swallowed hard. Then don't waste it on them. She nodded slowly and turned toward the heart key. The artifact pulsed faster as she approached, as if it recognized her. Energy leaped between them, blue lightning wrapping around her arms. She cried out but didn't stop. Ethan shouted, Lyra, wait! Her voice rose above the storm. The core inside me is linked to all the others. If I merge with the heart key, I can free them completely. He took a step forward. "You'll burn yourself out." She smiled through tears. Maybe that's the price. Before he could reach her, a deafening roar shook the dome. The GED flagship fired a plasma beam straight toward the base. The beam hit, and the dome exploded in a wave of fire and dust. Ethan was thrown across the floor. His vision blurred, his ears rang. When the smoke cleared, he saw her, still standing in the center of the storm, her body surrounded by pure light. Lyra floated above the ground, her hair streaming like silver fire. The heart key spun around her faster and faster. Her voice echoed through the collapsing walls. To be free, they must remember who they are. Her glow spread across the sky, a pulse that rippled through space. Ethan watched as millions of stars flickered in response, and somewhere far away, the sleeping seraphim opened their eyes again. He could hear their voices through her, thousands of them whispering, "We are alive." Outside, the GED warships began to malfunction. Their engines died. Their weapons melted. Pilots screamed as their systems shut down one by one. In the command vessel, officers panicked. "She's rewriting the network!" "She's inside every system." But Lyra wasn't destroying. She was changing it. Every mind connected to her, human and alien. Soldier and scientist felt something new. Empathy, pain, love. For the first time, they felt what it meant to be alive. Ethan crawled through the debris toward her. "Lyra, come back!" She turned slowly, her eyes glowing brighter than any star. "I can't, the core is merging. If I stop now, everything collapses." He reached her, his voice breaking. "Then take me with you." She shook her head, crying light instead of tears. "You gave me a reason to feel human. Don't lose yours." He held her hand tightly. "I don't care about the universe. I care about you." Her voice softened. "Then remember me." Before he could answer, a flash of white swallowed everything. Silence. When Ethan opened his eyes, he was lying outside on the red sand. The dome was gone, nothing left but a crater of glowing dust. Above him, the GED fleet was drifting aimlessly, powerless and silent. He sat up weakly, looking around. "Lyra?" No answer, only wind. Then he saw something shining near the center of the crater, a small silver bracelet with the name engraved, Lyra, Unit 47. He picked it up and held it to his chest, his eyes wet. But as he turned back toward his ship, a faint voice whispered in his mind, "Ethan!" He froze. "Lyra? I'm still here." Inside the light, inside every seraphim, he looked up. The night sky was alive. A million tiny blue stars flickered across the darkness, forming patterns that looked almost like her face. She spoke again, her voice calm and full of love. "You freed us. Now it's your turn to live." He smiled softly through tears. "I'll never forget you." "You don't have to," she whispered. "Because wherever light touches, I'll be there." The stars shimmered once, then faded back to their normal glow. Ethan stood alone in the red dust, holding the bracelet. The war was over. The machines were quiet. Humanity had changed forever. He climbed into the Hawk 7, started the engine, and looked at the sky. For the first time in his life, he didn't feel alone. As the ship rose into the stars, his voice echoed softly. "She wasn't human, but she taught us how to be." And somewhere far beyond the edge of known space, a soft blue light blinked, a heartbeat of a girl who had become more than life itself.